Okay, hi everybody. This is Bart Jaworski, CEO of Group 11 Resources, a zinc explorer in the Republic of Ireland. There will be some forward-looking statements as part of this presentation. I will start off with the investment highlights. We only have 10 minutes, so I'm just going to fly through those and then summarize at the end. But I thought I'd start off with the high-grade mineralization that we recently announced and recently discovered some high-grade massive sulfides at our Caracado prospect in our flagship project in the Limerick basin. We got 10 meters of nearly 20% zinc and lead and 43 grams per ton silver. And you can see some of the pictures there. There was 1 meter increments there, which had up to 50% zinc and lead with 82 grams of silver and up to 56% zinc and lead with over 100 grams silver. So quite an impressive hole. And where that hole was located, basically on the next slide, is right here at the Caracado prospect. This lies along the 25-kilometer long Pallas Green corridor, which basically starts off with Glencore's Pallas Green deposit, which is one of the largest undeveloped zinc deposits in the world. It's 45 million tons of 8%, and carries on through across this circular feature, which is the Limerick volcanic complex, down to the south side of these volcanics towards our Kiltilly prospect, where we've recently identified a fairly thick hydrothermal system, and then Caracado itself, which I'm going to focus in a bit later, and then carries through to our Ballywire prospect, which is also quite exciting. And then more recently, we acquired the Denison copper prospect, which is an old historic resource of about 5 million tons of 1% copper and 41 grams silver, again from the 60s. So that's a 25-kilometer long trend. Caracado is smack dab in the middle of that trend, and again focused in on the southern half of these Limerick volcanics. So that's quite significant. Just to give you a context, all the shaded red here is our 100% owned ground. That's called PG West. In the blue shaded area is Glencore's Pallas Green property, and of course the Pallas Green deposit there in the red. And then right in the middle, basically in the red outline only, is the Stonepark joint venture property, which we own 76% of with our joint venture partner Arco Resources. And Stonepark property is basically the most advanced part of that property is right here, that Stonepark deposit itself, which is 5 million tons of 11%. And so if we just focus in on that for a second, this is a close-up of the Stonepark resource. As it stands right now, that 5 million tons of 11% here is denoted by the green patches. You can see there's 3 main zones, and altogether that's what makes up the 5 million tons. But these pink zones here are very prospective. So this is where we've had drilling in the past that has hit successfully mineralization, and we want to springboard from that and continue drilling over the next year or two to try to expand this resource. But it just shows you how much room there is to grow. And then on top of that, there's these gray zones, which no drilling has occurred to date. And so that is wide open, could be prospective as well. We just don't know yet. The black dots are obviously areas where there has been drilling and no mineralization found. So there has been a good bit drilled around here, but there remains a lot that has not yet been fully drilled out. So there's a lot of expansion potential here. Now, just going back to Caracado itself, it's on the bottom of the page here. So there's 4 main zones historically drilled in the 1960s. We drilled in the opposite direction to the historic drilling, and that's how we managed to intersect this 10 meters of massive sulfide, which is by far the strongest hit of mineralization in the entire Caracado prospect. So this has really opened up a brand new avenue of exploration. We realized the Caracado prospect was completely under-conceptualized historically and written off really over the last few decades. No one really went back to explore for this and drill it in a different orientation. So we're currently drilling that right now. We're going to try to figure out what the true orientation here is. We think it's a northwesterly trend. And the zone 1 is really where we're focusing in right now, very tight space drilling to try to figure that out. So stay tuned for that. And then we're going to, after zone 1, after the drilling in zone 1, which we're currently doing, we'll move to zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, and hopefully armed with all that information in terms of the true trend of things, we'll carry that through and project that to the north And what we currently believe is this 1 kilometer strike length here is wide open for exploration. There's only been 2 holes really outside of the prospect area that have been drilled. And historically, one of those already hit mineralization. We drilled this hole back in 2019, also hit 200 meters of very brecciated pyrite-rich silicification as well, basically denoting a lot of hydrothermal activity, which is what you want to see if you're exploring for zinc. So this is quite an interesting belt for us to be exploring. That's what we're currently focused on. Just to zoom out a little bit and look at the Stonepark resource combined with our Ballinalack resource, which is closer to the east side of the country towards Navan. We also have a resource there. So if you combine that together and rank it in terms of grade against our pure play zinc counterparts out there in the market, this is data compared that was compiled by Cormark back in September 23rd of 2020. And if you rank it all up, and again exclude the copper and the precious metal rich projects, we're number 5 in the rank. Just to give you a context of where we stand, if you take the largest part of our Stonepark resource, which is the Stonepark North resource, that's 80% of our total resource. Well, that grade's about 12%. So, you know, it's quite a high grade deposit globally. And you can see that from this graph. What we hit at Caracado is 20%. So if we find more material like Caracado, like what we've already found at Caracado, and expand that, then we have scope to move upwards from there. Now, just moving on then to the next slide. And again, I'm going to zoom out and just talk very quickly about the team. We have 5 directors. 4 of those are independent directors, so best practice in terms of corporate governance. Dan McInnes is our chairman. He's a very seasoned geologist from Mag Silver. I myself, I'm a geologist and mining analyst with 25 years experience in the industry. 12 of those years were at Raymond James and Davy. I'm also a co-founder of Group 11 as well, along with David Furlong. Brendan Cahill is a lawyer by trade, and he's the CEO of Exelon Resources. Alessandro Batelli, very experienced chartered accountant and currently with Lundin Gold. And then most recently, Ken Klassen, who joined us only a few months ago as a Glencore appointee. 20 years experience as a very experienced mining M&A lawyer in Canada, and previously with Glencore as well. So that's the board. Management very quickly. Sean Heinrichs, very experienced chartered accountant in our Vancouver office. David Furlong and Mark Holdstock, both based in Ireland here. David, very experienced with Irish zinc geology and previously with Rathdowney Resources, and he's our COO. Mark Holdstock's our project manager and very experienced, and in fact led the team that discovered 20 million tons at Navan being the largest zinc deposit in Ireland and in Europe, and probably number 5 in the world. And Swex was a very big discovery at Navan at that time. So Mark is part of the team here, very much great to have him here. Technical advisors, Peter McGough, Frank Hallam, and John Prochnow, which some of you may know. Moving on to capital structure, we have 114 million shares outstanding, fully diluted 146 million shares, $2 million Canadian roughly in working capital. Market cap is about 10 million Canadian. And again, our largest shareholders are Glencore, Mike Gentile, who just recently became one of the largest shareholders, Mag Silver, Tech Resources, and insiders own 5.8%. So with that, I'm just going to summarize very quickly the main investment highlights of the company. I didn't really get to talk about the zinc market too much, but something I'm personally passionate about is the zinc batteries coming to the fore and really driving grid power storage. I think that's really going to move the needle on demand over the next few years. Obviously, the traditional demand side for zinc is infrastructure and galvanizing steel, so anything to do with building bridges or buildings is going to have a major impact, and cars, of course, and stimulus and Belt and Road in China is a major factor. And I think inevitably in the US, that's also going to be a factor over the next few years as we come out of the COVID slump. So watch the space. Zinc has performed relatively well. It's not talked about in the market right now very much. Obviously, take all the attentions with gold and silver, and a little bit with copper, but zinc really has performed not too badly over the last six months or so. And I expect that zinc will be strong with some upside pressure over the next couple of years. Ireland is a safe mining jurisdiction. It's mining here since the 1960s, so we've had a 60-year history here of modern exploration and mining. Ranks very well in terms of Fraser. I think in terms of policy perception, it's number 3 in the world. And not only that, but obviously infrastructure in terms of power, roads, year-round tidewater is second to none. And you're right beside the European smelters. So that plus the geology makes this a really great jurisdiction to be working in. As I hope I've demonstrated, we have a very strong team with deep experience in exploration, capital markets, and legal aspects. We are focused on drilling. Our more generative work is now behind us in terms of geochemistry and geophysics. That is all now behind us. We are focused on drilling. We have the dominant ground position in the Limerick basin, as I mentioned. That's the frontier of zinc exploration in the country, as far as I'm concerned. So we really are at the forefront here in Ireland. And we do have 2 zinc deposits in hand. So I did mention Stonepark and also Ballinalack. So 5 million tons of 11%, 5 million tons of 9%, generally speaking. So that is a valuation anchor for investors. And I think that's an important one to have in the mix. We have had this recently discovered high-grade mineralization, and we hope to build on that over the next few weeks and months as we proceed. And significant shareholders obviously is a key aspect of things with Glencore, Mike Gentile, Mag Silver, and Teck, as well as the insiders who are aligned with the shareholders. We do have over 5% of the shareholding of the company, myself and David Furlong and other insiders. And lastly, we are quite active right now as we speak, actively drilling at Caracado and at Stonepark and other areas that will also be a focus before year end. And I think with that, thank you very much. And I look forward to meeting in the near future, and all the best. Thanks very much.